So continuing on with fractions, a few things to think about. So if we have 20 times 1/2, we're really saying we have 20 half cups of flour, let's say. So 20 half cups full of flour would give you 10 whole cups of flour. So in other words, multiplying by 1/2 is the same as dividing by 2. Okay, because we could do 20 divided by 2 and also get to 10. Also, we've already touched on this, but if you have some number divided by itself, you're going to get an answer of 1. If you have 6 marbles and you divide them evenly into 6 groups, you're going to have 1 per group. Same thing is true for fractions. If we have 1/3 of something and we divide it by 1/3, we're going to end up with 1. All right. Let's do some questions where we have units. So when you have units, the units are going to divide just like the numbers divide. So if we have 250 miles divided by 10 gallons, we could write it in fraction form like we have here. And we would end up, we could simplify that. We could divide both of those by 10 to get 25 over 1. We still have miles in our numerator and gallons in our denominator. So we end up with a final answer then of 25 miles per gallon. If you were trying to figure out how many dollars per hour you made, you could do $45 divided by 5 hours. We can write that as a fraction like they've done here. We can simplify it because we can divide the top and bottom both by 5 to get $9 per hour. Okay, not really a good wage in today's economy, but better than I did strawberry picking as a child. I made $45 that week. All right, going on. So we have Carlos gets 30 miles per gallon in his Miata. How far should he be able to drive with 11 gallons of tank or with 11 gallons of gas? Okay, so he gets 30 miles per gallon. So for every gallon he goes, he gets 30 miles. He has 11 gallons. So if we take our 30 miles per each gallon and we multiply that by 11 gallons, we should figure out how far he can go now that he has 11 gallons. Okay, so that's going to be a multiplication. You can think of this, you could add a 1 here, right? This is 30 miles per every 1 gallon. And if you wanted, we can think about that whole number 11 as 11 over 1. So now we have 30 times 11. What does that give us? So I'll use my calculator here to get 330. Now what happens to our units? Here, I guess I'll do the denominator too. We've got 330 over 1 times 1, which is 1. Our units here, well, we have gallons on the top and the bottom, so these gallons cancel, which is why we're left with miles. So we have 330 over 1, which is the same as the whole number 330 miles. So he can drive 330 miles. All right. Let's do a few more word problems. So we have a window, it's 4.5 feet high by 2 1/3 feet wide. We want to know its area. Okay, let's write down what we know. The height is 4 1/2 feet. The width is 2 1/3 feet. Okay. Height we could also call length. Right? That's also the length. We know because if you think about the window, here's our window. We're saying it's 4.5 feet high and 2 1/3 feet wide. Pardon my scale, it's obviously not correct, but we still get the idea there. Okay, so we know area is length times width, or height times width in this case. So area is going to be 4.5 feet by 2 1/3 feet. Okay, so we're multiplying fractions. That means we're going to change those numbers to improper first. So we're going to get 2 times 4 is 8 plus 1 is 9 over 2 feet. times 3 times 2 gives us 6, plus 1 is 7 over 3 feet. Okay, and now we can do that multiplication. So let's not worry about our units right now. Let's just think about the numbers. We've got 9 times 7, which would give us 63, over 2 times 3 is going to give us 6. Okay, can we simplify that? Well, I can see my bottom is divisible by 3, and 63 is also divisible by 3. So if I divide them both by 3, what do I get? 63 divided by 3 gives me 21. So I get 21 over 2. Now let's think about units. Our units were feet multiplied by feet. So a number multiplied by itself, we could also write as feet squared. Anytime you're dealing with area, your units are going to be squared. So here our units are feet squared. So we could say the area is 21 over 2 feet squared. Now, what if we wanted to make that into a whole number? Well, we have 21 divided by 2. Okay, we could go, so that'll go 1 time for an even 2. And then we've got 11. I should have given myself more room. Let's do it over here. 21 divided by 2, I get a 1. Drop down that 1 and a 0. And then I've got a remainder of 1. So my answer then would be 10 and 1/2. So we can say the area is 21 over 2 feet squared, or we could say 10 and 1/2 feet squared. Okay, take a read through that next one. Okay, so we have this backyard. Okay, this backyard is 25 3/4 square yards of open space. And within that yard, Pat wants to plant a garden that covers 2/3 of the open space. So something like this is our garden. Okay, and here's some carrots. They're beautiful carrots. This is why I teach math. Oh yes, very nice. Okay, so we have an area in the entire area of what's enclosed by that blue square is 25 3/4 square yards. This green area is 2/3 of that 25 3/4 square yards. So if it was half of the area, we know we would take that 25 3/4 and divide it by 2, or in other words, we would multiply it by half. That's what we're going to do here. So if we're trying to find 2/3 of this 25 3/4, that of is kind of like a multiplication symbol. So what we're really looking for is 2/3 times 25 3/4. Remember, 2/3 is going to be smaller. It's going to, so if you multiply something by 2/3, you're going to end up with a smaller answer. So our answer is going to be less than 25 3/4, which is what we're looking for. Okay, so let's multiply these fractions together. First step is to change that mixed number into a whole number, or sorry, into an improper fraction. So we're going to have 4 times 25 plus 3, that gives us 103 divided by 4. Okay, now we can do the multiplication. Let's do some cross simplifying here, because I can see I can divide a 2 out of the top and the bottom. And now we have 103 divided by 6. Okay, let's see if that's the simplest answer we can get. Is 103 a prime number? It is. So 103 is a prime number. So if we did the prime factorization of 103, it would just be 103. The only factors of 6 are 2 and 3, so there's nothing we're going to be able to divide out here. So this answer is our answer in simplest form, and it's going to be in yards squared. So the garden will be 103 over 6 yards squared. And if you wanted to convert it to a mixed number, we could also do that. We would do 103 divided by 6. And what do we get here? So 6 will go into 43 7 times for 42 with a remainder of 1. So that means our mixed number is going to be 17 and 1 over our divisor, which is 6. So we could say or 17 and 1/6 yards squared. Okay, and that seems about right. Always good with word problems to check at the end. Does it seem reasonable? We started with about 26 square yards. We wanted to know what 2/3 of 26 was. About 17 sounds within the realm of normal or realistic. Okay, last one. So a supermarket survey shows that 2/5 of their customers buy breakfast foods. Of these, so of those 2/5, 3/4 are buying cereal. We want to know what proportion of the store's customers buy cereal. So let's start. I just want to picture what that is. So here we've got the supermarket survey. I'm going to try to divide this circle fairly evenly. That was probably too small. Fairly evenly into fifths. Okay, and you'll have to use your imagination a little bit because it's not going to be perfect. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, let's pretend those are equal, even though they're clearly not. Okay, so 2/5, so that's like here. Okay, so those are the people out of everyone surveyed. The green shaded area is the people that buy breakfast foods. 3/4 of these shaded people, 3/4 of these shaded customers buy cereal. So what we're looking for is to find out what 3/4 of this 2/5 would equal. So to do that, so we're looking for, let's say, looking for 3/4 of 2/5. And so just like we said in the last question, that of is going to mean multiply. So what we're looking for is 3/4 times 2/5. Okay. And so we can do some cross simplification here. And we end up with 3 times 1 gives us 3. 2 times 5 gives us 10. So 3/10. So we would say 3/10, or 3 out of every 10 of the store's customers buy cereal. And once again, check if that seems reasonable to you. We have a survey that said 2/5 of the customers buy breakfast foods, okay? And 3/4 of those, so a little less than 2/5, buy cereal. And does that look like 3/10? Well, 2/5 would be the same as 4/10. Those are how many customers are buying breakfast foods in general. And it's going to be some of that 4/10. So 3/10, yeah, that makes sense. That sounds reasonable.